Hey, BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and we have a brand new Boruto chapter to talk about, so let's get into that because time is money. Before we get into it, there's something I need to address. Leaks. For reasons that utterly confuse me, there are a certain subsect of certain Naruto/Boruto fans who only consume the series via the leaks, and then decide to judge the entire chapter based on it regardless of if the full chapter is translated or not. Which has left a debate about whether or not there should even be leaks at all, or should we be only supporting the official release. My answer is pretty obvious. Both. We can have leaks and the official release. The untranslated leaks can give us a good idea of not just the art, but what is actually going to happen, since the manga is both a visual as well as a literary form of media to consume. This allows those who have a decent or good ability to translate or have a better understanding of the Japanese language to be able to translate for us ahead of time. And since we either get one or two different translations alongside other Naruto franchise content creators who actually look for other people who are more fluent in Japanese to get some clarification on what certain words and kanji mean, and that's ignoring the people that just use Google Translate, since Google Translate isn't always 100% accurate or flows really well. That's a big help for us. That way, when we go to see the official releases, we can actually be able to compare and contrast how Viz Media as well as the unofficial translation groups interpreted the source material, so we have a better understanding in case something seems lost in translation or if someone is actually able to clear that up. Plus, not only should we not be attacking the innocent members and translators who actually try to use the leaks in order to better justify and explain things so that the community isn't up in an uproar over things that are easily mistaken, we should also strive to support the official release too, because Shueisha keeps track of digital releases, and seeing the numbers, if you count how many people are consuming the franchise via the app, it gives them more incentives to not just advertise it, but also support it with more promotion. I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but there's been a boom of Japanese Boruto fans who got into the manga after the Shueisha created a promotion, since now the Naruto franchise has had at least 100 volumes, and they started buying out the manga in droves. So clearly with better advertising and more official support, they're going to be more likely to support the franchise. And even if you read the translation and don't plan on looking at the official release, all you have to do is just click on the chapter one time and just skim it for like 5 to 10 minutes. That's not me trying to astroturf or whatever the hell you call it. That's just basic and simple ways to promote without spending or wasting too much time. Anyway, type "where's Kakashi" in the comments and let's get started. The chapter continues off from last month where Inojin and Kobu's body is debating on what to do, and regardless of what you think about Koji manipulating him to get to this point, he does point out Inojin has to undo the mind transfer jutsu, otherwise he'll die while in the mind transfer state. But Kobu's body isn't necessarily that strong. Though props for Inojin, he's aware of the situation, but he doesn't just let himself get manipulated and actively chooses to try and fight in Kobu's body despite the limitation, since even though he's in the way of their goals, he's still a civilian, which ultimately does help them out in the long run. Meanwhile, at the home Ada and Daemon are at, Ada is actually worried about Inojin, since without him they actually have no idea what's going on, and before a hater can yell plot hole, Daemon just asks her to use her Sharingan, but we've got a problem. Mamushi's watching her like he's ready to do something that puts himself in the Epstein files, and based on that interaction, Ada figures out what his second ability could be, gathering intel from seeing into other people's eyes. If she uses it, he'll be able to find her. And Sarada and Delta spot her pursuers out in droves looking for her like she's an idol who went missing in the city. The moment one spots her, they're all going to start hunting her down. Unfortunately, Mamushi starts acting like members of Shonen Twitter trying to pit two different series against each other when their mangakas would actually get along in real life, as they start turning on each other. And Sarada points out they lost their intelligence so much that they start rampaging around the city and attacking each other, and civilians are almost getting caught in a crossfire. Literally, Mamushi busts out a fire-type jutsu, which makes you wonder if Bug was capable of that in real life, his prime, or is it something the Ten-Tails genetics apply to his Shinju, since in theory, it should have all the chakra natures. But either way, the civilians have no choice but to flee to chaos. Meanwhile, at the Hokage office or building, Shikamaru and Sai talk, and Shikamaru reveals the Shinju situation that Sai summarizes basically was treating this as a top secret shadow mission. Again, especially after the Sen mission was technically off the books. And Sai points out that he's still in charge of the interrogation and has the right to know what Inojin's doing. And Shikamaru points out that yeah, they're concerned for their kids as parents, but right now they are ninja and during an emergency they need to focus on protecting everyone, so Sai agrees. It's actually poetic too. Shikadai is helping out on the front lines while Inojin's trying to help everyone in secret. Meanwhile, Shikamaru is trying to be secretive while Sai is trying to get involved in that loop. Back in the city, while everyone's fleeing, the Mamushi clones start fighting each other so much that one starts to lunge at a fallen civilian. Dude, move. Sarada activates her Mangekyo Sharingan, Ohirume, and she's able to use her gravitational pull to suck up almost all the clones in the vicinity, but one tries to attack her from behind since that's her weakness. Remember, she has to be able to see them in order for the effect to take place. So she turns back and is immediately able to trap him and the rest that were also trying to attack her from behind that she sees into the gravitational pull. But she hasn't destroyed them yet for good reason. As she tells Delta, The gravitational force only affects objects that she's able to see with her own eyes. So, Delta decides, hey, let's act in girl code, and brutally takes down most of the other clones, including using her eye beams, and then brutally stomps on some of them by their heads, using her talons, brutally just carving into their heads into shreds. It's beautiful. That allows Sarada to focus on crushing them with the gravitational pull, although her right eye starts to bleed. And after they finish being destroyed, she descends to the ground a la a fallen angel as Delta rushes to her aid. Sarada could barely see Delta as she starts looking blurry, clearly lying about her ability to see her properly, lying about being fine. Now, this started a debate online between people who complain Sarada is this absolutely worthless, pathetic character, or those who whine and lie that everything after the pain arc doesn't make sense or is bad, or the people who pretend they know what they're talking about with Naruto, who clearly don't. But unlike certain Naruto fans, Ikimoto actually rereads the manga and proofreads with Kishimoto just to check up on things. And yes, the Mangekyo Sharingan eventually causes the eyes to deteriorate eventually. Sasuke, after 2 uses of his Mangekyo Sharingan, had his vision act up after he fought and assumed he defeated Killer Bee with the rest of Taka. And how many times has Sarada used it again? Alright, 2. Ohirime was used back in chapter 21 and later on in this fight. She may have turned it on in the room with Daemon, but she didn't use the technique. So clearly it's something she's going to have to deal with ramifications for, especially with her eyesight problems. Inojin and Kobu gets beaten the crap out of him, and Koji is aware that he's in a losing battle, decides to snap Inojin out of the mind transfer jutsu because he wants him to restart or restore the mind transmission due to the fact, in his words, he's worried about our friends. Inojin's friends, our. Okay, I didn't talk about this in the past couple of times that discussed Boruto, but Kakashi and Koji has low-key been grooming Inojin by using his feelings against him, so glad Inojin retaliated. Kobu perfectly represents the blind politician ignorant of the true problems going on in society until it starts affecting him, is actually getting cornered. So Inojin reactivates the mind transmission jutsu to let everyone else know that Kobu's being attacked by Mamushi on the roof once Shikadai and is able to resume communications. And I like how the Mamushi clones say Kobu's face is punchable while another says the same thing about themselves. And the main leader of that group, who's acting as Mamushi, wants to prolong Kobu's suffering. I agree. Shikamaru and Sai get to the roof in time to see Mamushi torturing Kobu with flames, but Boruto manages to swoop down, and assuming that he managed to put a tracker marker there, Boruto delivers one hell of a decapitating slice to several Mamushi heads before using Karma to absorb the flames, surprisingly with more ease, so he is getting used to using it. As Sai gets ready to take Lord Kobu to the medical facility, Kobu realizes, oh yeah, these dangers are actually a threat, which is actually a nod to the hatred that the Daimos tend to get, because if you consume Naruto's manga, or if you read some of the light novels, the Daimos actually got criticized for not getting involved or actually being aware of the actual conflict, since they just usually send shinobi to do their dirty work for them. But Kobu still claims that the investigation into Shikamaru isn't over, and this is not a situation that he can sweep under the rug. The translation is a little wonky, so I checked the official and fan translators, and Kobu claims when the truth is brought to light, the land of fire and most likely the Daimyo will respond accordingly. Boruto questions if this was a coincidence or if Koji knew that he would save Kobu, and Koji claims personally the man needs to die. Shikamaru is able to get the mind transmission formation back up on his end, but Inojin confirms that Mamushi multiplied to about over 200 of them now. Sarada and Delta report about some of them becoming a mob thanks to the loss of intellect, and Chocho, Shikadai, and Himawari are riding out of energy fighting them, so Shikamaru decides on a last resort. Everyone heads to Ada's location so that they can destroy all the clones at once. Yep, to Ada's dismay, they're deciding to use her as bait. And Daemon agrees because it's nice and simple. Something he claims they should have just done in the first place. And that's how the chapter ends. Few things I want to bring up. Some people were usually judgmental if certain characters got more focus over the others, but I think this chapter had a healthy balance between focus on Inojin, Koji, Shikamaru, Sai, Sarada, Delta, Kobu, Boruto, and Ada and Daemon. The only people who really fell out of focus is Shikadai, Chocho, and Himawari, and that's ignoring Mitsuki and Konohamaru not being around for this chapter at all. Do you feel like the characters are balanced or not? Second, some people are worried about Sarada's blindness affecting her. There's two possible ways that this could be addressed. One, in the future, Sarada gets the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but that depends on who she gets the eyes from, since it's not like she know about Obito's laboratory, but Sasuke likely destroyed or got abandoned. And Sarada is a character that's all about breaking the cycles of Uchiha expectations. So there's another option. Sarada theorized that the jutsu mark on Sakura's forehead that she uses for mitonic regeneration would allow her to heal her eyes without having to worry about deterioration. Since, like Karma, it's also a technique revolving around storing and using DNA. Though unlike Karma, it stockpiles the user's own chakra to use. Third, Kobu's fate. While I personally would have wanted him eliminated, keeping him alive can do a lot for the story. For those of you who forgot, Shikamaru is the acting Kage, and the Daimon can choose to replace the Kage or decide with the rest of the elders and top Jonin to pick a Kage representative that better fits if they decide Shikamaru isn't fit anymore. Which means Kakashi might likely be the best option. Ikimoto teased this man how many times now? So let's see what's going to happen in the upcoming chapters. Anyway, I thought this chapter was better than expected. Let me know what you think. Comment your thoughts below. And BIP Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.